This dog came up and bit, like took a chunk out of the whole like left side of my knee. So there's a lot of things that have happened to me when door knocking, but I think the worst one that ever happened was I had taken a break for like 6 months of working in roofing and working for the company I was with to kind of finish up some school. And so after I'd gotten my degree, I came back and my boss, he took me out to whatever neighborhood they had been working, and he was like, hey, we're going to go down here. It's a great spot. And it was one of those days where we hit every door and just nothing was really coming together. And so we tried this. It was one neighborhood across the street, and we hadn't been in there at all. I mean, maybe one of the guys had done one roof in there, but we started knocking a few doors, and there's this one house at the very end of the street that there was this dog sitting outside. So we kind of like skipped it at first, and we were going to maybe hit it on the way back. And I don't know about y'all, but when we go door knocking, if somebody says like, hey, you should go knock that door, doesn't matter what it is. If it's no soliciting sign, if it's a big old dog outside, you just kind of go do it. And so it was my turn, and they came up and they're like, Jay, go out and hit this one. And there was this big old German Shepherd in the yard. Now he had like one of those metal collars on, and I couldn't tell if it was on a chain. I thought what it looked like is he was tied up to a tree because he was laying right next to a tree. And so I got out of the car, and I've been around dogs my whole life. My mom actually, she rescued dogs our whole life, and so I didn't really think much of it. I thought it was just dogs sitting in the yard. And so I start walking towards the property, and I saw him pick his head up. And I'm like, okay, he's still sitting down, I'm just going to keep walking, not really going to make eye contact with it. German Shepherds, sometimes they're aggressive, sometimes they're not. So I just kept walking, and I stepped onto his driveway, and he stood up as soon as I stepped on his property. And I was like, okay, he knows that I'm here. And I took maybe 3 or 4 more steps, and I apparently passed the invisible barrier that he did not want me to pass. And the thing just starts charging at me. And I saw the chain around his neck, but there was no chain tied to a tree or anything. That dog was loose. And he starts coming at me. And I've never been afraid of dogs, so I just kind of stood there. I was like, he's just going to bark at me. Like, I don't think he's actually going to come up. And I was very wrong. This dog came up and bit, like took a chunk out of the whole like left side of my knee. And I was like, the guys in the truck are laughing. They don't even care anything that's happened to me. They're laughing. And I didn't want to hurt the dog, so I just kind of like, pushed him off and tried to run back into the truck as quick as I could. As soon as I ran away, he didn't chase after me or anything, but there was this whole chunk coming out of my leg. And they thought it was hilarious because they're like, wow, this is the first day this guy's come back knocking with us, and he just got bit by a dog. It was the absolute funniest thing they'd ever seen. So we ran to the store, got all bandaged up, came back because we were like, the dog attacked me. It's just out on the leash. Like, do we need to report? Do we tell these homeowners? Do we need to report anybody? Because we didn't think anybody saw us. And we came out, the homeowner was in the yard, and the dog was gone. I don't know where it was, but the homeowner was out in the yard. And he came up to our truck because he saw us coming by. He's like, hey, I saw on like the Ring camera earlier that, the dog bit you. Like, are you the guy? You look like the guy in the video. And I was like, yeah. And I'm like, great, this guy's got a video of me getting bit by a dog now. It's going to float around on the internet. And he's like, man, I'm so sorry. He's like, dude, I don't want to really get, the police involved or anything. We've had that dog for years. He's just, sometimes he doesn't like strangers. And I'm like, man, I do think you kind of should have had a sign warning, maybe like a no soliciting sign or beware of dogs. They had nothing in the yard saying that we shouldn't be on their property. And I was like, look, and he was like, well, man, he's like, if you hadn't been walking on the yard, kind of trying to make it my fault. Like, why were you even here? And I was like, look, man, we're out door knocking. We're, the storm that hit a few weeks ago, we're just trying to, make sure everybody's got their roof done. And he was like, well, that's actually funny you came by. He's like, we had a leak, a few weeks ago. We just you know, it was a small one. We just didn't really think much of it. He's like, if you want to take a look at it, you know, it's the least I can do since, you know, my dog bit you. I was like, all right. I was like, I'll take a look at it. And we, believe it or not, probably 2 or 3 months later, we actually ended up doing his roof and getting it all approved through insurance. And but I'm glad I never saw that dog again. Every time I came back, he had it tied up somewhere in the back, or I don't know where it was. But I think that was the worst time ever, worst day ever door knocking. And it was obviously, it had to be the first day back that I come back. But that's all I got today, guys. Thanks for watching.